Here's why we need to stop buying these 5 animals as pets. Welcome to the series where we talk about just really bad articles that don't make any sense and really don't help the reptile community. If you're new to the channel, we've done a few of these. I'll link them below if you want to see some others after this. But let's just go ahead and get started. We're going to focus on these 3 because that's what the channel's about. Okay, let's start. I'm not going to read all of it. I'll also link this stuff below. But as tempting as exotic animals may seem as pets, most, if not all of them, are not fit to be kept in this manner. They require special food, housing, maintenance, and care, things that most of us simply cannot provide them. So I'm just going to skip most of this. It's stuff that we've already talked about before. But let's go to paragraph 3. It says, according to Born for USA, the American Veterinary Medical Association, the United States Department of Agriculture, and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention have all expressed opposition to the possession of certain exotic animals by individuals. Okay, well, those are some pretty, I hope, reputable people. So it's definitely going to be important to take into consideration what they have to say about these exotic reptiles when kept as pets and just how bad they actually are. Let's start with the CDC, or Center of Disease Control. Here's one of their main arguments or main articles on reptiles and amphibians. Take care with pet reptiles and amphibians. Healthy reptiles and amphibians can carry salmonella and other germs that make people sick, especially young children. Take steps to keep you and your family healthy. How do you do this? Do you get rid of your pets? Do you just not buy snakes? Do you avoid them? No, the CDC said themselves they have these 2 wonderful little areas with 1, safe handling tips for reptiles and amphibians, and 2, choosing a pet reptile or amphibian. If they have a box with a bunch of points on how to pick a good reptile or amphibian, I have a feeling they're not opposed to it. First, let's look at their safe handling tips. Always wash your hands thoroughly after handling reptiles and amphibians and anything in the area where they live or roam, such as their habitats, food, or equipment. What it's saying is just wash your hands. Okay, pretty simple. Moving on. Next up, people basically just with weak immune systems should be more careful, maybe even avoid them. Avoiding them, that might be a bit of a stretch, but of course it depends on who you ask. Don't touch your dead rodents. Basically just common sense so far. Keep your reptiles or amphibians out of your kitchen. Okay, I think we can do that. It suggests that you clean your reptile or amphibian habitats outside of your home. I guess that makes sense. Not a terrible idea. And don't kiss or snuggle your reptiles or amphibians. So the CDC, are they opposed to keeping reptiles? Doesn't sound like it. It sounds like they just said wash your hands, don't kiss them, don't bring them in your kitchen. Okay. Next up, choosing your reptile or amphibian. Don't buy turtles less than 4 inches in length. In the US, I think it's illegal everywhere to sell turtles this small. Don't catch wild reptiles or amphibians. We did a video on that. Don't release unwanted reptiles or amphibians into the environment. And if you decide to get one, basically just talk with professional people to figure out how to care for it. Okay, that was just one of the organizations that they mentioned. There's 2 more that could have very useful tips to help get people to avoid buying these animals. Let's move on to the American Veterinary Medical Association. The first page I found that came up related to reptiles, befriending reptiles and amphibians. Basically, it's a whole page of vets saying how cool reptiles are to keep. Let's see, what do we got? Although many people do not expect reptiles or amphibians to demonstrate personalities, many of them kept as pets will do so. He added, ownership of reptiles and amphibians in some cases may come with a wow factor. Having a 6-foot or larger snake is very cool for some folks. There's a large group of people who are really fascinated by and love reptiles and amphibians, and some that don't like them at all. The care of reptiles and amphibians is not too time-consuming for owners who can manage their husbandry needs. I've got reptile owners that are more neurotic about their pets than some of the dog and cat owners that I've seen over the years that bring their Savannah monitor wearing a sweater. It's just amazing how attached people can get to these animals. So far, we're not seeing much about not keeping them. Now this page also has stuff on basically people waiting too long to bring the reptile to the vet, which that's understandable. Some people just never do or take too long. And that's with any animal. People do the same with all types of pets, whether they don't think it's deserving of it or whatever. Okay, well, the other big concern that the other place mentioned is salmonella. What does the American Vet Association have to say about that? Well, on this massive Q&A page, they talk about it a ton. One of the questions on there, we are expecting a child and we're worried about salmonella. Should we get rid of our pet reptile or amphibian? Absolutely not. As we've already said, there are many simple and common sense things that you can do to protect your family. You don't even really have to read the rest of this page, but they said it themselves. I keep hitting the mic, I'm sorry. But they said it themselves. Common sense, washing your hands. But wait, there's still one more organization. One Green Planet Has Hope. Come on, USDA, bring us home. Tell us why reptiles should not be kept as pets. Well, I can't really find anything. I've searched for about 20 minutes so far, and all I'm finding are articles on, well, one, invasive reptiles and amphibians, which is most certainly a problem, like in Florida and everything. Something that's very important to reptile keepers and reptile enthusiasts and the government, because that's a big issue and there's ways to avoid that and work around that, and they're doing that. Next up, more invasive stuff, which again, I'll link all these below. More invasive stuff. It's all about the invasive stuff. I can't find a single thing on the official USDA.gov site as to why you should not keep reptiles or amphibians. Now, giving One Green Planet the benefit of the doubt, maybe this little chunk that they took from Born for USA is only applying to the birds and fish on the list and just ignoring the snakes, lizards, and frogs. But I'm not sure why you'd merge that into the same article, because I can't find anything from any of those organizations. I don't understand. Okay. Let's just pretend that this really irritating chunk of text that's very convincing, you hear all these very fancy names, and it's like, oh, well, they mentioned those, so they must be right on this article. That's the most annoying part. Please just delete this chunk, pretend that it does not exist. Moving on, let's see what they have to say, because maybe they can convince us instead. The following 5 animals are often seen in pet stores around the world. However, none of them are well suited for a domesticated home life, especially when they have directly come from the exotic animal trade. Snakes, number 1. Snakes are perhaps the least tameable of all the animals on the list. They do not like to be handled much, and they can get aggressive if they are. According to the World Animal Foundation, many incidents have been reported of escapes, strangulations, and bites from pet reptiles across the world. Across the country, I can't read. Many is a bit of a stretch. The number is extremely low. Now, people have mentioned that reptiles aren't kept as often as other animals. Like, I've compared them a lot to deaths by dogs, how there's a very big difference in numbers. Of course, there are more people currently keeping dogs than snakes. My argument for this is, firstly, it's still a very ridiculously small percentage, and secondly, just look at the reason that snakes are killing these people in these very rare incidents. Basically, every time they have every right to kill the person. It's people that are picking up random venomous snakes, people that are irresponsibly keeping venomous snakes, people that don't know how to care for very large snakes. It's like having someone having a kid, I guess. Not every person's going to be able to care for that kid properly, but the way to deal with it isn't by telling everyone that they need to stop making kids. Instead, do what these professional organizations have done. One Green Planet's not in that list, by the way, and just take the concerns into account. The salmonella, the word I've said 24 times in this video. The government tells you, just wash your hands and you'll be fine. And then the official veterinary something of the country says, just use common sense. Anyway, the other part I was going to say is comparing that to dogs, which we've talked about in the past. Look at the reasons that dogs are killing people, and they're pretty brutal and out of nowhere. It's like, there's a whole Wikipedia page. I'll also link this in the description. There's going to be a lot of links. It's like, the family dog was always loved and got along great with the kids. Then suddenly it turned and tore little Timmy into pieces. That's not a very specific one, I made that one up, but there's lots that are almost exactly like that you can just read. Meanwhile, the snakes are ridiculously predictable, and it's pretty much always the person's fault. They should not have been doing that in the first place. My favorite are the ones that say they picked up venomous snakes for religious purposes, and then they get bit and died. Good job. Next up, what's the other part, the other argument that they have? Salmonella. We're just gonna skip by this. We've talked about salmonella so much in so many videos. Lizards, even lizards such as iguanas, geckos, and chameleons can carry the sometimes deadly up to 90% of species being carriers. Born for USA says that reptiles that carry salmonella do not show any symptoms, thus there is no simple way to tell which reptiles play host to the microbe and which do not. So I've kept reptiles for 5+ years. I don't know the exact number. There they are. Is there going to be salmonella in this room? I don't know, probably, but that's what immune systems are for. Hey, what's that thing? Does she have salmonella? Probably not, but she has plenty of other bacteria that she's spreading everywhere. What's this? This is a person. Oh my god, I'm struggling. I'm also covered in bacteria. I mean, I think I'm a clean person, I'm pretty sure. But it's very normal for everything to carry bacteria all the time. It's literally plastered on everything on the entire planet. There's so many other things that are going to happen to me in this room before one of the 24 animals over there on the wall gives me salmonella. Worst case scenario, I get salmonella, oops, and that kind of sucks for a couple weeks, unless I have a weaker immune system, but just wash your hands. Okay, sorry, moving on from that little rant. What's more, lizards need space. A tiny little glass cage is not going to give them enough room to run around in. That's why there's very specific minimum sizes for different animals that people have worked to find the perfect size. A leopard gecko across the room does perfectly fine in a 20-gallon, according to most people. Some say even smaller, others might say larger. If you think it needs larger, just get it something larger. Meanwhile, the Savannah monitor downstairs is going to need like an 8x4x4 thing, 8x4x4. It's so hot in this room, I'm losing consciousness. Plus, they don't just sit around in the sun out in the wild either, the same way they wouldn't enjoy sitting under a lamp all the livelong day. Firstly, lizards don't really want that many things in life. I think that giving them places to explore and enjoy themselves is definitely important, and that's where you can also take animals out. We'll go into that another time. They just don't know how reptile keeping works, I guess. And then finally, frogs, like other animals mentioned, frogs are also captured from the wild and sold as pets. I'm sure there's plenty of species that are, but you can just get the many that are bred everywhere on every site, readily available for you. Removing them from their ecosystem is a problem enough, since amphibian populations across the world are already facing a drastic reduction in numbers. What you can do. It can be tempting for some people to not buy these unique animals, but the simplest thing you can do is to avoid temptation. Depriving an animal of the ability to reproduce, take care of young. I'm guessing that's referring to birds, maybe, I don't know. Like, lizards might eat their children, turtles abandon the eggs before they even hatch, snakes literally don't care at all. Frogs just shoot eggs out everywhere and just abandon them. I don't think they necessarily care about that. Moving on. Many people who purchase exotic animals do so with unrealistic ideas, and they will make fun pets and provide a different experience for them. The fact of the matter is that the novelty wears off and people find themselves giving up, not providing proper care, and sometimes even abusing them. This is with any animal on planet Earth. It really doesn't matter. There's gonna be those sad eggs, those bad eggs out there not doing the right thing. We've talked about that lots of times. See, that's the issue. All these articles are so alike. They just steal the fake facts from each other and they're like, hey, let's make an article on it and spread it to people all across the world. So it makes it difficult to make these videos because they're all just gonna be repeats of each other because it's just the same stuff spewed out over and over. Thank you, Vasala, for writing this article and giving me content, I guess. I don't know what else to say. I'm kind of out of stuff. Did we cover everything? Maybe. Pretty lame article, I guess. There really wasn't much in it. Again, you can find all this stuff linked below. If you want to see videos I did on Peter, the Humane Society, or a couple others I think I did, you can find those, and you can send me other weird stuff like this. But I don't know how, I can't really do any more because it's just going to be the same thing over and over. There's some unique ones though. I have a couple more, unfortunately. So whether you supported PETA or the Humane Society or One Green Planet or Born Free USA or the Dodo or all these other people that are highly opposed to keeping reptiles for the most part, consider supporting some other organizations. The biggest, at least for the United States, is probably USARK or USARK, the United States Association for Reptile Keeping. Yeah, whether you just follow them or give them money, I think it'll help. Okay, that's it for this. I don't know how to end this off. It's kind of just, there it is. There goes my lighting, so I guess it's a good time to end it. Goodbye.